Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. All right, I have got George Makaye. Did I say that right, George?
That's correct.
On the show with me today. He is with Makaye InfoSec. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael.
Glad you're here. Okay, give us some background on you. I want to hear about your company, what you're doing in cyberspace, and how you started this company too.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is George Makaye. I'm originally from Kenya. I came here in 1998. And I actually came here because my parents applied for a green card for our whole family, and I'm the one who won it. And so I won a lottery to come to the United States.
Congratulations.
And very fortunate and very lucky to be here. And so I came here in 98, started my business in 2004, GXA, which is an IT consulting company. My wife and I own that company. We started together. We've owned that company and ran it together for the last 15 years.
Good.
So about 3 years ago, one of our clients, one of our large healthcare clients, had a security breach, and they had an infection that actually affected their company. And when they got infected, one of the users from the company sent a phishing email to one of their largest customers. And luckily enough, their large client had a cybersecurity team that caught the infection and isolated it and quarantined it. But they reached out to our client and asked them what they were doing to make sure that they were preventing any security issues and breaches from occurring in their business. My customer at the time did not have any cybersecurity services, right? And so this large client of theirs sent them a security questionnaire, and they were demanding some of the answers to make sure that they had some of the security controls in place.
Right.
And so I sat down with my customer and we started talking about, they were really asking us what are some of the services we offer and why we were not providing cybersecurity services to them. I had to explain to him the difference between what we were doing as an IT company and what a cybersecurity company would actually do. And so through those conversations, it became clear to me that, one, he assumed that as their IT vendor, we were also responsible for their cybersecurity, which was not the case. So I went ahead to educate him about the differences between those two services. So we were able to eventually help them, resolve the issue they had, clean their systems up, and then also satisfy their biggest customers' security requirements by helping them implement a cybersecurity program within the organizations. And they were able to keep the client, which is good news.
Yeah, great news.
Yes. So because of that incident, I realized that possibly several of my other clients and our other customers had the same assumptions, that they assumed that we were also doing their cybersecurity. So I did a survey that I sent out to several of our larger customers to determine if they actually had those assumptions, and what we learned was most of them did. And so we went through and actually did an educational campaign where we educated our customers around the difference between IT, we offered as an IT company, and cybersecurity, which are services that we didn't offer at the time. And then we decided as organizations to start a separate cybersecurity company called Makaye InfoSec. And the goal really was to make sure, one, that we helped small businesses. They work so hard to build their businesses. They've spent a lot of time, a lot of sweat and blood and sacrifices that they've made to make sure we can help them protect their businesses from cybercrime, and also help them be compliant with security regulations. And so that's how Makaye InfoSec was birthed, and it was started 3 years ago, and we've been growing since then, and really excited about what the future has to hold.
Everything I read or hear about says cybersecurity is a must-have because cybercrime is on the rise, and there's really no way to protect yourself unless you have a cybersecurity person or staff on site to work with you.
That's
right?
That's really true, Michael. If you look at 10 years ago, the cybersecurity landscape was very, very different from what it is right now. You know, the space has really evolved over the last few years. You know, criminals have become much more sophisticated. They have come up with very advanced, tactics of, attacking businesses, small and large. And there are sometimes well-organized organizations that are very well funded. Billions of dollars are being, stolen through, online crime. And so the game has changed in cybersecurity. And so the tools and strategies that, small businesses were using before, things like firewall, antivirus, anti-spam, anti-malware, they're just no longer, sufficient, right? And so small businesses have to take the game to the next level. And that's really where the cybersecurity companies come into play, that they can work side by side with their IT vendor or IT department to ensure that, we have the right tools, we have the right policies, we have the right, implementations in place to make sure that, they have a comprehensive cybersecurity program that can protect them not only from cyber criminals, but sometimes insider threats from employees, and also make sure that they are staying compliant with all the regulatory bodies that are out there.
What are some of the biggest problems working with the regulatory bodies to stay compliant? Because you may not even know some of the rules you're supposed to be following.
And that's exactly why small businesses, who are trying to do this internally or maybe try to have their IT person do it, they might not have the right skill sets, might not have the right expertise to really understand all the requirements that are needed, right, to implement a cybersecurity program that is comprehensive, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why you really, as a small business, have to bring in a cybersecurity firm, because the cybersecurity firm not only has the cybersecurity engineers and the analysts and the information security officers who understand the laws, they understand the evolving landscape, and making sure that they're implementing and right-sizing the solutions for your small business.
Do you think that some of these big names that we hear about, Equifax, the hacking of them, Sony, and so on, could have been prevented, or the technology at that point, the cybersecurity criminals, or the cyber criminals, were far advanced of any protection that could have occurred at those times? Do you know what I mean?
Well, so a lot of the breaches that have happened for the larger organizations like Equifax, these companies have multi-billion-dollar IT and cybersecurity budgets.
Right.
But again, they're huge targets, right? Equifax is a huge target, and so they attract some of the bigger, more sophisticated cyber criminals who really want to get in there because they want to steal the money. They want to get the customer information, the client information, the credit card information, right, the intellectual property. And so, the larger an organization you are, obviously the more robust and more sophisticated your cybersecurity program should be. But as well, as small businesses, there are just basic cyber hygiene.
I've never heard that before. That's good.
Yeah,
cyber hygiene.
Cyber hygiene, things that you want to do to make sure that you're protecting, you're not leaving your door open and the windows open. You're closing all these obvious doors to keep cyber criminals out. Right. Mm-hmm. And so what we find is when we engage with small businesses, they sometimes don't have the most basic controls in place. Right. And so their doors are wide open, and that's why they get breached. And in fact, a lot of the times, most small businesses have already been breached. They just don't know it. Right. Right. And so what we're really trying to do is not bring in some very heavy controls and solutions for small businesses. It just really help sometimes educate, but also help implement some of just the basic controls to make sure that they're keeping the bad actors out of the network.
Got it.
Yeah.
The last question on today's interview, there's got to be like three main things, the biggest insight you've learned in starting your company. Mm-hmm. So, because there are young people out there wanting to follow in your footsteps, give them some guidance.
Absolutely. So when I started my company, 15 years ago, I was, my wife and I, we were probably 27, 28 years old. We were very young. We had ideas about what our business should look like and we should be ran. But along the way, we've learned a lot of things. One of the things that I've learned is that, running a small business is not a small task. It's really a lot of work. and you have to be willing to make the sacrifices. Luckily, we were, when we were just, we were married at the time, and we didn't have any kids, so we had a lot of time to invest and work in the business, and we were able to do that. But regardless, is you have to come in prepared that you're gonna have to put in a lot of work and a lot of time is involved, right?
Yes.
And then the other thing is, when we came in, I was an IT person. My wife was, in HR, and she was working on behind the scenes. I was mainly the one, providing IT services. And as the company grew, I learned that, my biggest skill and the value that I brought to the business, it was not in delivering the service. It was in leading the company, in doing sales and marketing, in influencing my team, encouraging my team, serving my team, serving the clients. And so, I had to shift my skill set. I had to shift my focus to make sure that I was really focused on providing the best value for my company, so that we could provide the best value to our clients. The third thing I'll say is that you have to be willing to always be a student. It's a learning process, and you have to constantly be evolving, right? Continuous involvement, continuously reading books, researching information, learning to be a leader, learning to be a business person, and making sure that you're always sharpening the saw, right? Because as your business grows, or as your business changes, it's going to require a different part of you, a different skill set from you, and you have to be ready, right, to be able to deliver when that time comes.
Brilliant. Well put. Thanks for being a guest, George.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. You've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. Don't forget, download our CEO Money app on iOS and Android. Thanks for watching.